Hello, everybody. I am Chris Harrison, and today's episode of the Chris Tech Talk, we have our guest, Mr. Julio Morales. Julio Morales is a seasoned IT executive and also an Army veteran with 28 years of experience in the IT world. Currently, Julio resides in Miami with his beautiful family, and he's also a member of the CIO board of South Florida. Julio began his roots in the IT world within the quality assurance discipline decades ago. He grew up through the ranks of the IT world, like everybody else, having an opportunity to focus on the higher education industry and across many sectors within higher ed. Some of the sectors he touched on are the private for-profit institutions, international colleges. He worked for software solution providers, private nonprofit institutions, OPMs, which are online program managers, for those who are not familiar with the term in the higher ed sector, and 100% online universities as well as brick and mortar schools. Today, Julio is an independent consultant that provides CIO and CTO services to organizations within higher ed and outside through his firm, Omega Tech Consulting. Julio, welcome to the Chris Tech Chat. I believe the audience really would love to be able to hear about your journey, some of the challenges you've seen, how AI is shaping and changing the landscape, and lastly, how outsourcing to companies like Talentus Global has helped you and can help organizations scale their needs. So hopefully I was a little bit accurate. If I missed something, Julio, please feel free to share with us. But we're excited to have you on today's Chris Tech Chat. So thank you and welcome to the show.
Oh, Chris, no, thank you for the introduction, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on the show. This is exciting, and more than happy to attend and participate. But you basically nailed my bio. I've been in the technology industry since 1992, 93. And most of my career has been in education. I started in education 20 years ago with Kaplan University, went on to Nova Southeastern University, to an OPM in BISC, and then I did a fractional CIO interim job at American College of Education. So I'm more than happy to give a little bit of insight of my experiences and career along the way.
Wonderful, Julio. We noticed you started early in the game back in the day when something called quality assurance didn't even exist in institutions. And there, share with the audience in here, what does that mean for an institution or for a company, organization, how important that is and how that helped you shape into the executive that you are today, how important quality is in everything, I guess, that we do on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. It actually started with, we all do, we start in the tech support world, right? Started there for about 2 to 3 years. And then one of my mentors, great man, Bill Cruz, who was the CEO of Omega Research, now called TradeStation, we were the producers of trading software. Well, the software kept going out with bugs, right? And after a while, he realized that I was finding bugs myself, and I would report them to the developers. And he started to look into testing and quality assurance. One thing led to another. He noticed my interaction with the developers and the DBAs, and he said, "Hey, do you want to start my first QA department?" And I said, "Sure." Went to class for about 5 days, came back, and that was it. Started my career there. But it's very important that every IT unit in any company has QA and test, because at the end of the day, we produce services and products that need to have quality by which the clients are satisfied with almost close to no issues at all. And the key to that is to have a good QA, quality assurance and test group that finds all the bugs, gets them repaired, puts quality in the code, puts quality in the package, and gets it out the door for use by the clients. So yeah, that's where it started.
Amazing. And I guess QA is the sort of the gateway in between the software being developed, built, and what goes into production, right? And how does it hit a company's solution or software, whether you are in higher ed, retail, automotive, whatever industry you are. So QA really becomes a gateway and the gatekeeper, I guess, ensuring that the code is and the applications are supposed to behave the way they're intended to be doing, right? So that's a key role. And I would say that companies or organizations need to continue to focus on and put a high priority. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, in order for people to be satisfied with the product, both from a performance standpoint, a load standpoint, UI, UX standpoint, usability, right? The way it looks and feels, it has to go through QA. It's a must. You'll notice any CEO would notice that the clients are much more satisfied with quality work when it goes through that team. Now, that team is coupled with the DevOps engineers and the release engineers and the change management personnel that supplement the QA and test team to ensure that the best code, the best product is put out there. So yes, it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, great point. Talk about a little bit about your experience in the private for-profit. I know you were for a large institution for a number of years in there. Talk about your experience in there and some of the key challenges that you were faced back in the day. We're talking about, I don't know, 18, 15, 20 years ago, probably on it. Can you share with the audience a little bit about your experience in that specific sector of higher ed, private for-profit, and then give us your takeaways?
Absolutely. So it started in 2005 with Kaplan University. I think when we started, it was maybe a little, tens of thousands of students there, and it was an entrepreneurial spirit, great developers, great QA people. I mean, the entire I team was a huge organization, innovating and creating our own LMS, and making sure that students could go online. It was strictly online university. That was a career-changing experience in that everyone was working excellent together in propelling Kaplan University. By the time it was 2011, around there were hundreds of thousands of students on the servers, and I remember working late at night with the teams, watching our servers handle it. But it was a great experience from an IT perspective. There was a lot of services, a lot of innovation, and a lot of creation that went in it to ensure that we were able to put technology at the forefront of educating people online.
So is it safe to assume that back in the day, a lot of the software and the SaaS solutions that you have today in the marketplace for higher ed were really built from the ground up back in the day, right? So you guys were building those solutions, whether it's a CMS, whether it's the lead management system, whether it's the CRM solution or your LMS, you guys were building all that from the ground up. You were pioneering the distance learning through those tools that didn't exist in the marketplace. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely, Chris. Back in the day, the vendors were not around. The portals that were built, the LMS that was built, those really weren't, they were up and coming, but they were not built. So we, together, a couple of hundred IT folks put them together through ingenuity, hard work, elbow grease, and a lot of sacrifice. These guys put everything together. Great team, great people. Our clients, both internal, in admissions, enrollment, academics, finance, everyone had a lot to do with it. So our clients within the institution also help put those things together with their feedback and their UAT, as we would say. They also help test and put together the requirements. So yeah, I mean, from soup to nuts, all those systems were built for Kaplan University, now called Purdue Global, but yeah, it was built.
Got you. I can't imagine the challenges. Was scalability a challenge trying to keep up with the demand or the growth in the marketplace?
Oh, absolutely. The students were coming in like there was no tomorrow. I mean, I think we were enrolling at somewhere around 10,000 students a month. So I remember, almost every week we had to add a new server to the load balancers and then tweak the software to ensure it can handle the load and find where there were performance weaknesses and repair them right away. But there was an aggregation of servers and material and resources in order to keep up with the load of the number of enrolling students.
And as you move and progress in your career, you went to work for some international colleges. Can you share a little bit about some of the challenges, takeaways, and some of the things that you were able to learn from that experience?
I did a short-term CIO role for an online Spanish online college, Innova College, and we had to start from scratch on that one. The infrastructure, the network, the PCs, the whole kit and caboodle. In that case, there was software that was starting to roll out, like Moodle, right? The LMSs. The vendor started creating what was necessary for colleges: Power Campus, the SIS, back in the day, Dynamics, Financials. And then, of course, the web still had to be created by the developers for the students. But there was a bit more of a combination of, vendor / created products and services. So, and that was fun in starting a college from scratch.
So you went from building everything from scratch to vendor selection, integrating sort of best of breed solutions that created a sort of a cohesive ecosystem in place, and still building some components within the ecosystem. But it was much more about finding the right partner, the right provider that fits that specific college, right?
Yeah, exactly. Smaller
Vendor
college
management.
Yes, exactly. Smaller college needed a different SIS. Kaplan, major university, that required a different SIS. So depending on the number of users, number of students, number of programs and curriculum, you together with the executives, you make the right decisions with some gap analysis and some business analysis to make sure that you're choosing the right systems, whether to build or buy for the institution.
Understood. Fast forwarding a little bit more, you went into the private nonprofit sector as well for a number of years. Walk us through that. What was that like? Major institution, different culture than the private for-profit. A little bit about the dynamics in place in there. Was it more of a cultural shock in there? Is there a big difference between private for-profit and private nonprofit? In terms of the culture, the expectations, the pace, the funding. Give us sort of a holistic sense of what you experienced and those changes.
To your point, Chris, I spent a little over 10 years at NSU. I started there in 2011. And yes, that was a different approach where Dr. Hanbury wanted to unify all the different colleges within NSU into one NSU. And I'll remember he'd always point and say one NSU. In order to do that, the mission of IT was to centralize, decommission, and centralize and organize one IT unit. In order to do that, we had to put PMOs in place and put the rigor, governance, standards, and ITIL and ITSM, all the different types of standards that are required in order to put those together. And then the tools we also put in place. Being, online compared to brick and mortar, online to me runs more, it's just a quicker pace. It's more of a business entrepreneurial cultural mindset, where the brick and mortars, even to this day, it's authentically, historically,
more traditional.
So, there's semesters and grades and the schedules. It's a bit, there's PhDs, just more of an academic culture and the traditional culture. So that one tends to run a little slower. And because of the size of the organization, I think NSU has around 5,000, 6,000 employees from different walks of life, it tends to move a little slower. But I will tell you, in the last 10 years that I was there, it went from being slow to a much quicker pace to keep up. So Hanbury laid down a culture by which it became dynamic, it became speed to market, it became innovative. And so we did many things there that propelled the university to become what it is now.
Let me touch on something that is very hot today, which is AI.
Yeah.
AI is everywhere today, right? We hear about groundbreaking changes in the introduction of ChatGPT a couple of years ago, DeepSeek, recently on it. During your tenure there, did you had a chance to explore AI back in the day there? Can you share with the audience a little bit about some of the things, if you did, what things you were able to implement, what things you need to watch out and try to, fast forward a little bit into our today's market with AI, and what are some of the things that you still are concerned as we continue your journey into your professional career?
Absolutely. We started with AI when everybody started with bots, right? Machine learning. We met with Microsoft, went to their offices in in Fort Lauderdale, and we trained our developers and everyone else how to use the engines and machine learning in order to create the bots. And I think that was back in 2018, and that was our first introduction to what we call AI now. Fast forward, and we started with one bot. Next thing you know, we wound up with 4 bots, answering questions from support to academic advising to you name it. Those bots are answering thousands and thousands of questions overnight, 24/7, 365 days a year. So that was our first introduction. Fast forward into 2022, we started to then increase our awareness and experiences through AI with prescriptive and predictive analytics. So we started to work with vendors and ourselves and trained ourselves in order to enhance the machine learning into generative AI and rebuild and re-enhance the engines to then start predicting what students are going to be doing. Are they going to drop out? Are their grades going to sink? So we started to see the potential of what the AI can do as far as the journey and the academic career of the student, and then react to helping and enhancing the student's journey. So AI is serving the academic institutions in many ways. And one of the ways is the academic career or the academic prowess and the journey of the student.
So even though higher ed and education by definition tends to be very traditional, tends to be more technical adverse, tends not to move comparative at a slower pace as some of the other sectors such as financial services, banking, how did you go about injecting or transforming an institution leveraging AI in higher ed back in the day? Because I constantly hear, well, higher ed is very traditional, it's hard to move the needle, it's hard to really transform and make changes in it. But it sounds like you had a very successful journey at NSU and you're able to move the needle and be able to transform an institution leveraging AI. How did you go about it in terms of the institution embracing that, utilizing, capitalizing that, and ultimately benefiting the students?
That's it. Really, to your point, there was a lot of partnership and a lot of collaboration. From it starts at the very top, from Tom West, the CIO at the time, worked with him and our executives in IT to propagate or to come up with innovations and ideas, and or take the requests and ideas from students, faculty, or staff, and then presenting it. But what we did a lot in order to collaborate and partner was do a lot of proof of concepts and gap analysis and analysis of the business reasons on embarking on a change. And when that was presented and the advantages were seen, the pros and cons were weighed, together, collectively, from all the deans to all the professors, we would introduce POC, show them the proof of concept, and show them the capabilities of the ideas that the innovation would bring to the students, faculty, and staff. Once they saw it and they saw the power of the idea or the innovation and they accepted it, then we would embark on, implementing and deploying that project all across the university. The one thing that I'll tell you an example of that was Canvas. Everybody was on Blackboard. No one wanted to move to anything else. Well, guess what? The students started to hear about Canvas. And, there's rumor reel about Canvas. And thanks to, Tom and some other leaders there, and the executive staff, we did a POC with the business school on Canvas. And once we started to do that, then one dean started talking
and Canvas, for the audience, is the LMS.
The LMS, the learning management system. And so one dean started talking to the other, and before you know it, we started to show all the way around. And right before COVID, we had finished a whole transformation from Blackboard to Canvas. I think it was maybe a year and a half before COVID hit. We were fully online with Canvas. And let me tell you something, the students were ecstatic. The teachers were ecstatic. Everyone was super happy about it. But where I'm going with that is collaboration, partnership, ideas, just the entrepreneur spirit, and everyone getting together to bond together to just collaborate and make sure things, a lot of teamwork. And that's how we did it. Well, one by one project after another, that's how it was done.
So would you say that engaging internally with the institution, the organization, in this case, in higher ed, with students, faculty, and staff early on, making them part of the process, highlighting something like that, it's part of your recipes for success when you engage them early on, make them part of the process, versus IT driving at its own pace, separated from the business? Do you think that's probably one of the key reasons for your success?
Absolutely. Before anything, they were always involved in all the way into the analysis, right from the get-go, right from the beginning. Now, what propagated more symbiotism and synergy and collaboration and partnership amongst the units with IT is the rise of Agile, right? Where in waterfall, the method of a project, starts with analysis, and then little by little, different units and different stakeholders were involved in the project right from the get-go, right from the beginning. Everyone is involved from the beginning through the middle to the end of the project. And the rise of Agile and that framework created this team unity and bond and partnership and friendship in order to get these projects through fruition. Canvas, one of the many, many projects we did, went through the Agile framework in order to produce that implementation within a year, less than a year, which is for 22,000 students and hundreds of faculty and staff. That was monumental.
We can't imagine how monumental that effort must have been, but obviously it yielded tremendous success to you, to your organization, and to the institution. Switching gears a little bit, as you progress within your professional career and you work for what's called an OPM, an online program management company in place. So switching from an institution where you serve students, faculty, and staff, now into a provider who provides OPM's capabilities to an institution, a university. Walk us through what was that when you jumped the fence really from the institutional side to a provider. Walk us through a little bit about how you were faced with that cultural, being on the other side of the fence, some of the things that you observe on the other side that benefited you, and some of the gains that you had from that experience itself with the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things is it was a cultural shift in that it's more of a business, right? Because you're servicing many colleges and universities and partners. So we went from eyes focused on one university with different schools to many universities, many colleges with their own schools inside of their organization. So the pace was much, much faster. There's more and more stakeholders and clients to ensure that we delivered what was needed from enrollment, student services, portals, SISs, you name it. We provided services to all of them. So that culture was fast-paced, or it is fast-paced. And in order to keep up with the demands and the requests from all these different universities and colleges. However, what I did notice is that in looking at all these other universities and colleges, they're also, because of the traditional way of being, there's many, many of them that are still, I would say, stuck in a time warp. They're still operating in an academic culture, in a traditional culture. And that was one of the things that I noticed. There's different colleges, different universities in some cases still run with old antiquated servers, old antiquated applications, and just the culture itself is a little slower than normal, whereby which many other institutions, NSU and some other ones, Kaplan, for example, they've caught on to the fact that the students of now are instant. They require information instantly. They require education instantly. Everything is at the tip of your fingers. And you ask Bard, you ask Copilot, you ask GPT, just by voice, hey, any question, and there it is. So now the students of today are expecting that kind of speed of service with quality. So that was the thing that I've noticed in being in the OPM is that the catching on to the speed of delivery and education.
So because of the view that you had from a customer perspective provider into the institutions, you had the ability to understand the differences and the nuances among them. Some of them were efficient, some of them not, but you still believe that there's a significant amount of institutions out there that are still being run in the traditional model with a lot of operational inefficiencies and maybe not aligned to the new generations, like you said, that have expectations of getting information, getting an education on demand instantly at their fingertips, and now compounded with AI, which just gives you an unlimited know-how and tool that capable of providing you just about anything you need in the marketplace. So would it be safe to assume that higher ed in the traditional model, it's almost dead and needs to reinvigorate itself, needs to redefine itself, needs to cater to the new generations of students that are looking for short-term gains in there, maybe short-term degrees, and are accustomed to really getting their information and getting their services at their fingerprint and in a faster way?
That's correct. Absolutely. The world is changing. You've got, the millennials, Gen Z, and beyond, right? Where, like I said, and you're mentioning too, Chris, where the students of today are expecting information within a second. So it behooves all the universities and colleges that are still kind of running in a traditional format to catch on to that and make the changes from an infrastructure standpoint, as well as content delivery and the way the professors are teaching to deliver all of this information as quickly as possible. And it goes into enrollment and admissions. I mean, I should be able to see a class, fill out a lead form, join, whether financial aid or grants or whatever, make the financial contributions or receive kind of financial contributions for assistance, and enroll within a day. Back in the day, it took almost 5 to 10 days to enroll. A student can enroll in a day now. So institutions that are not enrolling a student in a day, theirs are the ones that are a little behind, and they need to get with the times because, I'm an online student. I'm a graduate from a huge online university. And I remember when I enrolled, in one day, my butt, as we would say in the industry, my butt was on the seat in one day. In one day.
Those are the expectations of today's students, right?
Absolutely.
Or more.
There's no question about it.
So, Julio, as we round up your 20-some years of experience just in higher ed, what would be your key takeaways that the audience can take from this podcast in terms of what are the key things in higher ed that need to be high on their list, on high alert? What are the things in today, 2025, institutions need to focus, whether it's AI, cybersecurity? What are the top 5, 6, 7? What's on your top list? If you had to advise an institution to your clients, ideally from higher ed would be your president of the institution, your CEO of an institution. If you had to advise him or her, what are the key top things out of your mind that they need to be focused in today's world, 2025, to be able to not only survive, transform, thrive, and grow, right? I think a key indicator for any university college are enrollments, right? Enrollments go up or down. So what are the key things from your perspective that are at the top of your mind and should be a priority for any higher ed institution today? And then we'll close it up and talk a little bit about outside higher ed and if those areas are still persistent for sectors outside of higher ed.
You're right. And you've pretty much mentioned the ones that are key at the top, but let me iterate a little bit more on that or articulate it, is that from the business side of the institutions, there's the formula, right? Enroll, attract, enroll. And as we said, put the butts in the seat. Ensure that there's retention. Ensure that they graduate. And then ensure that they would want to come back into their masters or get their certifications or maybe even stay for their PhDs. And so that's key. That must be done from an operational standpoint. From the technology standpoint, you said it. AI is here to stay. It's taking the industry and all industries by storm, from DeepSeek to Bard and Copilot and everyone else. We've got to carefully embrace it. Anyone that's not using AI, you're falling way behind fast. Every day there's advancements, so you've got to get into AI immediately. However, that being said, there's many AI vendors that are springing up, and you remember the .com days and the .internet, right? Vendors come out of nowhere selling what they can do. Well, you have to evaluate the vendors and what they can do, and that they meet your requirements and they meet your scope of what you intend to do and what you want to do. But AI is here to stay. The students are using it. Unfortunately, the students have also figured ways out to pass classes and exams and whatever. That being said, on the flip side, the institutions are finding ways, right, to ensure that the students are actually doing work and passing their exams honestly. So both AIs on both sides of the coin must be investigated. They must be used. But I would say, because you touched on another topic, I would say cybersecurity is always a big thing. CIOs, CTOs, we don't sleep at night. Executives at IT, we don't sleep, worried about where the hackers going to intrude, where they're going to come in from, how they're going to do it. So every day we're trying to figure out with our tools, our process, our people, ensure that we protect the institutions from maliciousness.
So CISOs in your organization become your best friend in there. They hopefully allow you to sleep and be able to focus on keeping the engine running, transforming the institution, delivering value to the company, right?
Absolutely. And again, just like Agile, we talked about inducing quality inside of the products before they're launched. Part of the quality that I've helped with Agile put in is I get both quality and the security folks, the CISOs, inside of the project very early, so that as it's being built or implemented, it's got its quality checks and standards. Security checks and standards to ensure that by the time it's deployed, it is as secure as it can be. So security is major. It would always be an issue at hand, and the way the climate is in the world, it's at the forefront of our minds at all times. So hence, you've got the AIs coming out everywhere. Now, all of a sudden today, we're hearing there could be vulnerabilities with DeepSeek, so be careful. You always have to tread with technology in a cautious state.
Privacy, right?
Privacy, especially for the online communities. Privacy, GLBA, GDPR, HIPAA, FERPA. All of those compliance regulations are in play, and we've got to follow suit with them. Ensure that we're working with our legal and compliance folks, get them induced into the project early and often and frequent, so that when the product or the implementation or the innovation is released, everyone's on board and we met all the requirements from a safety standpoint to a security standpoint to an innovative standpoint. So you got to involve all these people and all these units. That being said, we as technologists, we love the cutting edge. I'm a geek at heart, right? You're a geek at heart. We love cutting edge. There's a shiny new toy. You wanna touch it. However, there's the cutting edge and there's the bleeding edge. I don't tend to stay away from the bleeding edge. Let things fester. Test a lot. Segregate your environment so you can test safely and do a lot of due diligence before it's here to stay. You got to get into it. But, be cautious about it because DeepSeek is in question now. So we got to be careful.
So no matter how much technology we're absorbing in our organization, in our company, in our institution, there's always going to be a factor and a need for a human being, talent, individuals. As we wrap up this podcast, can you share with us a little bit about how companies like Talentus Global can help you scale with that talent, regardless of all the tools that are being emerging now? And you mentioned it very well, as we're probably undergoing through another sort of .com era where AI providers are flooding you with solutions and tools that can help you automate this and that. And you need to make sense of all that and try to understand what makes sense for your institution based on your requirements, your priority, your scope. But I still believe that at the end of the day, the human talent, that human factor is a key factor, based on the redundancy in helping you achieve some of your objectives and goals in your company. So can you share a little bit about how that can help you scale projects in the real world?
Absolutely, Chris. I learned, through mentors at Kaplan University, Tom West, where he helped me grow along with some others. He helped me grow in nearshoring or offshoring, right? Because at the end of the day, you're right. Talent is still needed. People are still needed. I mean, who's making the bots? Who's coding in machine and generative language? You still need these people in order to do that, right?
Right.
Now the code Python is now, as of late, the code to use for AI, along with MVC, .NET, C#, and some other ones, a combination of all these languages and the databases, right? You still need people to build and construct the models, the hardware, the disk space and the speed of the disk and IO and I don't want to get too technical, but you still need people in order to ensure that AI is being implemented and used. That being said, like I said, through mentors, I've learned that, and the CFOs, right? You got to keep the costs down when it comes to IT. We're constantly challenged with that. So we use folks like you, Talentos and others, to nearshore or offshore some of the work where we can flex and grow based on the number of projects that we have. And using nearshore and folks like yourself and your resources, it helps us still continue to develop an AI and all these other projects at a much reduced cost, which helps both of us, right? Both the institutions and the companies, as well as being innovative and creating technologies along the way. And you still have to maintain it. There's still tweaks and enhancements that the product owners would like, that the students, faculty, staff, there's AI in Canvas, right? So maybe they want another way of filling out a lead form, right? Well, who's going to make that adjustment, right? AI is not going to adjust itself. You still need these people in order to do it. And so what we've done is found ways, cost-cutting measures with folks from your company in a nearshore where we meet the requirement of the CFO and financials and meet the requirement of the clients, which is continue to take on requests and deliver on the requests at a fast pace. And so one way of doing it is working with companies such as Talentos in order to facilitate both those demands.
Great. Julio, I think we're reaching sort of the end of the podcast. Definitely, this has been such an insightful conversation. On behalf of the Chris Tech Chat, I want to thank you for joining us today, being part of this podcast. I'm hopeful that the audience will get a lot of insight. We'll get 30 plus years of your experience, not only in higher ed and lessons learned and the do's and the don'ts, and they can definitely leverage that and obviously use your fractional CIO, CTO services as well as they continue this journey and continue to transform and navigate through this highly digital world that we're living today with AI just bombarding us from every single angle. So once again, Julio, I want to thank you on behalf of the Chris Tech Chat for being a valuable guest on our show today, and want to wish you the best on your continuing professional development career and continuous growth, and continue to have a great week. So thank you again, Julio, for being with us in here, and thanks again for being part of the Chris Tech Talk.